and we're going live. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the last session for today, the grand finale with Marty Cagan. So let me quickly introduce our feed speaker before we start. So Marty Cagan is almost like a legendary figure. He founded the Silicon Valley Product Group in 2003 to pursue his interest in helping others create successful products through his writing, speaking, advising, and coaching. Previously, Marty served as an executive responsible for defining and building products for some of the most successful companies in the world, including HP Labs, Netscape Communications, eBay, and more. So without further ado, Marty, please, the stage is yours.
All right, thank you very much. And thank you everybody for staying up so late to hear this talk. I do not have a lot of time with you, so I want to take advantage of every minute I have. I will warn you that I'm going to be very blunt. Part of that may be being American, but partly I just really don't have a lot of time with you. And I think there's some pretty important things to talk about. It's much easier to have this kind of discussion if we know each other, and hopefully you trust me and trust that I'm looking out for your best interests. But I realize most of you don't know me. So take it with a grain of salt, decide what you think. But what I wanted to do was have a very open and honest conversation with you about the real role of design in the tech industry. And I will tell you that in most tech-powered companies, they do not understand the power of design. They don't understand the necessary role of design. And what I want to do is try to give you enough information to know the difference, what kind of company you would really be joining, or maybe what kind of company you're really in, and the kind of design you can really do in those companies. So I'm going to try to be very clear on that. I won't spend the time to tell you about me. You can learn about that more if you want later. First of all, I should give this qualification. Everything I'm about to say only applies in the technology world. If you are responsible for designing a new kind of, glass cleaner, a new label, that is a different kind of design. I am talking about technology-powered products and services. So if there's a set of developers, engineers you're working with, that's what I'm talking about. If there's no engineers that you're working with, this is not relevant to you, what I'm about to say. So I want to make very clear we're talking about technology-powered companies. Now, fundamentally, I would argue there are three kinds of technology-powered companies. This is a reference to an old movie that is actually kind of fun, and I would suggest watching it. I'm sure you can find it on Netflix or something, but called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And that's a very useful way to categorize these three kinds of teams. The best companies in the world that I know a lot of companies in the world, all over the world. I want to be clear. This is not a Silicon Valley versus Africa thing. This is true even in San Francisco. We have good product companies, bad product companies, and really terrible product companies. And that's true in Shanghai. That is true in Cape Town. That is true in Berlin. It's just everywhere we have this mix. And of course, what I'm all about is trying to get more companies to work like the best companies. So when I say best companies, I mean Apple, Amazon, Slack, Airbnb, Spotify, these kinds of product companies that are truly leveraging technology to build great products for customers. All right, so I'm going to describe these in reverse orders. Let's start with the ugly. This is the worst of the worst. And frankly, I hope none of you are working at these kinds of companies, but I bet significant percentage of you are. I really don't know because I've only had a few trips to Africa. I'm hoping for many more. I think this is a great area. I'd love to see technology really take off more in Africa. But this is probably, in most part, everywhere in the world, there's big banks, big insurance companies. And this is typically what I'm describing here. We use the term delivery teams to refer to this kind of company. These teams are really all about cranking out features. They are cranking out code. It's all about code. They often have no designers at all, by the way, but when they do have a designer, it's almost always just a graphic designer, also known as a visual designer. And the little image there is, we call this lipstick on a pig. And what this is referring to is that by the time you, as a designer, get to see the technology, the code, the user experience, by the time you see it, it's already terrible. And the best you can do is make it a little prettier. That's what we mean by putting lipstick on the pig. It's still a pig. And so you will not find good product, and you will not be able to do good design at this kind of company, unfortunately. Hopefully, if you do work at that kind of company, you can convince your executives that maybe they should consider working like the best product companies in the world. Maybe they'll start making as much money as those companies do. But anyway, I have to talk about it because there are so many like that. Now, most product companies are not that, fortunately. Most of them are in the good, the bad, and the ugly. They're the bad. It's not as bad as ugly, but it's not good. These are called feature teams. These are very, very common. Now, they look like product teams from the outside. They usually have somebody called a product manager, somebody called a designer of some sort. They might be called a product designer. They might be called a user experience designer. They go by different names, interaction designer, but there's somebody in design and then some number of engineers. So they look very similar to the good kind, which we'll talk about next. The difference is they are just there to design and code features and projects. Projects are just big features. Now, if you're handed a roadmap with a bunch of features on it and told this is what you need to deliver, you're in a feature team. Now, a designer there has a bigger role, and it's a useful role. And by the way, you can learn a lot of skills. You're still not really using what you were trained to do as a serious designer, but it is useful. So what are you doing? You're told to implement a feature. So the first thing you need to do is design the workflow for that feature, the interaction design. And then you need to design, apply the visual design, the look and feel for that. You might be able to fit in a little usability testing if it's complicated and there's time. I hope so, but a lot of times they don't. But that's really the role of design on a feature team. You're there mostly for interaction and visual design. And like I said, that's useful. I'm not encouraging you to leave your company if that's what you're in. I would encourage you to try to convince your company to up their game and become a real product team, which will really take advantage of your skills. Which leads me to the good. I refer to good product teams as empowered product teams because unlike in a feature team where you're given features on a roadmap to build, in a real product team at a good product company, you're instead given a set of problems to solve. Hard problems too. They might be customer problems, or they might be your company's problems, or a lot of times they're both. They're a problem for the customer and for the company, but they are real problems to solve. Like our device has a safety issue. You have to figure out a good solution, or not enough people renew our service every single year. So that's a problem. We need to fix that fundamental issue. These are examples of problems to solve. Now, as a product team, we are able then to come up, we are empowered to solve that problem in a way that our customers love, yet works for our business. Now, that's not easy. This is what really requires the skills of a professional product designer. This requires the skills of a professional product manager and a set of true empowered engineers. Now, in this model, as a designer, you're not just designing the solution like you are on a feature team, but you're actually responsible for helping come up with that solution. So you might end up building a feature. We often do. But the difference is, on an empowered product team, it was you that came up with that feature as the right solution to that problem. So it starts with understanding the problem, understanding the different ways you can address that problem, understanding what the opportunities are. And then it boils down to a lot of experimentation on the right way to solve that problem. That's what's known as product discovery. And whether you're talking an Alexa device or Slack or a Peloton or Netflix or Stripes Financial Services, these are all examples of what you get when you empower a product team. This is where engineers, designers, and product managers are able to really show what they can do. Now, these empowered product teams, they are small, they're cross-functional, product design, engineering. Durable means that they stay together for a long time. Usually it's measured in years. The product manager, designer, and engineers work together on years. They might change what they work on. That happens frequently, but they work together as a team. In fact, in the best companies, Amazon is a good example. They try to make their product teams feel like a startup within the much larger company. So this idea of durability, teams stay together, is a very important dynamic. And they not only stay together, but you want them to feel like a real team. You want them to trust each other. You want them to know each other. You want the engineers to really understand what the designer deals with. You want the designer to really understand what the product manager is struggling with. And you need that dynamic. You also want this team to feel real ownership of something. If you're just given a roadmap and every week you're told to design and build a different feature, you don't feel any real ownership of that. It's somebody else's problem. Somebody else decided to do this. You're just, earning a salary every day, as opposed to this is yours. You really feel like this product is ours. This is, if our customers love it, it's because of us. If they hate it, it's because of us. This is what we mean by real ownership. And of course, empowered means that we, as the product team, are able to figure out the best way to solve the problem. Now, there's a lot of reasons for that. The most important ones are, as the product team, you are working with the enabling technology every single day. So you're in the best position to see what's just now possible. Also, if you're doing your job, you are testing and talking to users and customers every single week. You are looking at the data from those customers that they're generating every single day. So there is nobody better positioned to make these decisions than you as your product team. And of course, the consequence of being empowered is that you're not measured by, yes, I shipped a feature today, so somehow that's success. Shipping features is not success if it doesn't, because most of the time they don't move the needle. They don't solve the problem. In an empowered product team, you're measured by outcomes. In other words, if you don't improve that conversion rate from 3% to 6%, we're not really doing what we need to do. If you don't reduce that churn rate from 8% to 4%, we're not doing what we're paid to do. That's the idea of an empowered product team. Now, I don't have time to go into how they work, but I just want to be clear that an empowered product team is given problems to solve. That's what objectives are, problems to solve. And then they do rapid prototypes. By the way, most of those prototypes are created by the product designers. That is a really critical skill set, whether you're using Figma or InVision or one of 100 other prototyping platforms today. But you are doing many, many prototypes every single week. Prototypes are the fundamental tool that designers and product managers and engineers use to discover an effective solution. An MVP is just a type of prototype. And then once we have some evidence that something is worth building, what that means is it's valuable, it's usable, it's feasible, and it's viable. Once we have that, then we put it on the product backlog and our engineers build, QA test, and deploy products. That's where products come from. So discovery is all about prototypes and delivery is all about generating products. All right, I apologize if I went a little over there. I think I might have. There are 2 books if you're interested in this topic. Inspired is aimed at product managers, designers, and engineers to learn how great teams solve hard problems. That is my favorite topic. Empowered is a brand new book that is aimed at the leaders of your organization so that they can provide the environment that good product teams need to do good work. And with that, I will mention that my email is right there. I don't know if we have time for questions. I do because it's much earlier here in the US, but I don't know if you do. Yes.
We do, yes.
Okay, good. Let's do that.
Okay, so we do have questions here. So the first one asks, how broad the skill set does a product designer ought to have?
Well, so we're talking about a product designer for an empowered product team. So the high bar. Yeah. These are very valuable people. And by the way, this is a great career. And every one of the best product companies I know is hiring these people as fast as they can find them. But to answer the question, a professional product designer is skilled in service design, interaction design, visual design, and user research. Now, as a product designer, you should be trained in all 4 of those competencies. However, most of your day will be doing interaction design and a lot of prototyping. But you should at least be competent on visual design and service design as well.
Okay. Jumping to the next one. Product design is showing itself as a confusing terminology. Amongst the UX digital designers who work end-to-end and service designers who work focusing on strategy. Is this term just another labeled design trend which emerged due to the product area movement?
Yeah, there's no standardization really on titles, unfortunately. And it's not only design that has this mess. Product management, product owner, that's a mess. Engineers, developers, that's a mess. Titles are not consistent. What I will tell you is service design is not strategy. So I wouldn't confuse that. I use the term product designer. We didn't come up with it. A lot of the best companies use that term, but it doesn't really matter. What matters is those 4 skill sets I described. When you see a job described for some kind of designer, when you're interviewing, you want to understand how much of this job is service design, how much is interaction design, how much is visual design, and how much is user research. And you want to make sure that the job is not just a fancy title, whatever it is, for graphic design. Now, partly I'm saying that because this is going to sound very crass, but a product designer is paid 2 or 3 times as much as a visual designer. Okay, that's the reality. Okay. Everywhere in the world that I've seen, they are paid far more, and they're paid more because there are thousands of good visual designers, but there are not nearly that many skilled product designers. So that's why you want to do everything you can to develop your skills in these other areas, interaction design especially, so that you can show an employer that you can do this job. You're not just there to put lipstick on the pig.
Okay. Jumping to the next one. How can a featured or delivery team become an empowered team in a big corporation dealing with high bureaucracy?
Yeah. Well, that's a very good question. That's called the transformation question. How do you transform an old company to a new way of working? And I will say that, first of all, that is hard. It's much easier for companies that have started in the internet era and they start this way. But I can also say that I have seen it in several companies, them successfully transform. And what it requires, though, is senior leadership support. And if you look, you can see on the slide there, it says svpg.com/articles. If you go to that archive of articles, look for an article called Keys to Successful Transformation. And that you will find an article, an essay that answers that question. This is what we think is necessary in order to transform your company. But the short answer is you need your leaders to understand what they need to do and how they need to change.
Okay. Jumping to the next one, extremely difficult to prove design value to stakeholders. What are your tips for it?
You know, it's really not hard. It's hard to argue it, but it's not hard to prove it because we prove value every day in a modern product team. This is what product discovery does. And it's never been easier to do because we have the data. What you need to realize is a good solution is a solution that's valuable. People will choose to use it or buy it. Usable, they can figure out how to use it. Feasible, we know how to build it. And viable, it works for the different parts of our business. We know how to test for each of those. As long as you are delivering services where you have proven that it is valuable, usable, feasible, viable, you have proven the value of design. Now, most companies in the modern world have figured this out 20 years ago. All you have to do is look at how valuable Apple is. Look at how valuable Amazon is. Look at how valuable Slack is. Well, they were just bought by Salesforce.com. But it's really not hard. If you're in a company that doesn't think design is important, is probably because the leaders have never worked in a technology company before. So this should be known. But I will also say there's things you can do to help. You need to focus on outcomes. What matters is the outcomes. I've seen designers say, well, we did these beautiful personas and we put them all over the wall, but the executives think we're wasting time. They don't care about your personas. We call that sausage making. They don't want to see how you do design. They want to see great design. That's what they want to see, the result of great design. So it's a big topic for sure. But what I would suggest to you is to read the book Inspired, and you'll see how we prove the value of design.
Design. Okay, jump into the next one. What do recruiters expect to see in beginners product designer portfolio?
Well, to be honest, most of them, you have to realize a lot of recruiters don't know anything about product or design. So really, the recruiters are a problem. What you really want to do is use something like LinkedIn and go directly to the hiring managers. So what you need to do is make sure your profile on LinkedIn is good. Make sure it doesn't look like yet another graphic designer. Okay. Make sure you show that you understand interaction design. Make sure you show you understand user research. Show that you understand these other elements of design. And that's what, some of the recruiters will know some keywords to look for, but honestly, most of them won't. They're just looking for, buzzwords. So you need to go ahead and make sure you market yourself as effectively as you can. Your profile is extremely important on LinkedIn, really all over the world today. So make sure you do that. Make sure you have lots of endorsements from people that can speak to this, to show the recruiter or the hiring manager that you're a serious product designer and that you are interested in everything that touches the customer.
Perfect. One more question. So don't worry about time. We still have like a time for full questions. So because I can feel you kind of in a rush. How long should you stay in discovery phase and making prototypes? Should you setting a benchmarks on metrics when in discovery phase to move something into a roadmap?
Well, I mean, the short thing is I would definitely encourage you to read the book Inspired, because this is a very big topic. You know, there's over 300 pages describing discovery. What I will tell you is discovery is not a phase. Just like, you know, you wouldn't call coding a phase. Your engineers are building every day. Just like a product manager and designer are doing discovery every day. Some days you generate a little bit of things to go on the backlog. Some days you generate a lot that goes on the backlog, but that is, it's ongoing. And you are constantly using prototypes for most of the kinds of things we build. There are 4 major kinds of prototypes that you as a designer need to understand all 4 because they serve very different purposes. Yes, if you're working on something easy, you may not need any prototype, or even if you do, it may just take you an hour and you're done. If you're working on something really complicated, like a redesign of a native app, then it might actually take several weeks and literally 50 iterations of a prototype. So
okay.
Lots of dimensions to that question.
Okay, Marty. So I have one last question for you. Is do feature teams something necessary? Like, how do you always jump to is it possible to jump from empowered team, not going to a feature team first?
Well, most startups that I meet, they start right away as an empowered product team. There is nothing else. But I think what you're asking is, let's say you're ugly, the ugly kind, and a delivery team.
Okay.
I think you're asking, should you go first to feature team and then to an empowered product team, or should you skip straight to an empowered product team? And to me, the real question, it doesn't work like by steps. It's actually a very significant cultural change to move from either delivery teams or feature teams to empowered product teams. You're moving basically from telling the teams what to do to telling the teams the problem to solve and let them figure out what to do. That's the cultural change, and that is a hard change.
Okay, we do have more people asking questions, but I will suggest a different medium. Otherwise, this is going to be a non-stop conversation, and we have a specific schedule to follow. So I'd like to say thank you, Marty, for making the time for this. We really, really appreciate. We know the person you are. And thanks for considering our conversation, our conference as part of your agenda. So with that said, I'd like to tell people that we have one last session with the World Class Design Conference team, which is gonna be starting in a few minutes just after this. So once again, thank you for your time and see you on the next session.
Yeah, please don't leave. I mean, Marty can go and take some rest. Thank you so much. But please, guys, don't leave the conversation. We don't have a separate link for our next call. So Marty, thank you so much.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marty.
Bye-bye.
And bye-bye.
Yeah. So guys, if you would like to stay, we'll be really happy because we had our discussion call before. Unfortunately, we didn't manage to finish it because there was some schedule delays. So what we would like to do now, without starting new different calls, just to finish in this call directly our discussion, how we organize that conference. Do you think, guys, we should move forward? Camila, Pradi, Gideon?
Yeah, we are ready.
Okay, so let's go. I'm going to share the screen. So I'm looking forward to share with you more information. So you can always find us in LinkedIn. I'm not gonna go from the beginning because some people already saw it. So we're gonna jump right into the action. I'm sharing my screen. Okay, sorry. Oh, okay. So this is the slide with the speakers. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. So before we share how we met, so how it all started, and who we are, where we're coming from, and then also how we were working together on remote. So, but the core of our conference are our speakers, right? And during the whole day today, you saw that they're coming from different countries. We have a lot of really big names like Marty, for example. And just imagine being a conference that no one knows about, that never happened before. People coming out of nowhere with a crazy idea of having 24 hours conference. And then how do you attract speakers to actually come and talk? I think that Gideon can really answer that question because he was that magician that managed to attract all those brilliant speakers to our conference. Please, Gideon, share with us your tips and tricks.
Okay, like this is it's a really hard one because honestly, I don't know. uh, but I think it starts from knowing the people. Like how do I get? The thing is, I think it's about having a like honest conversation. Like, but first of all, you should know that not everyone that I invited to the conference said yes. Like a lot of people rejected my emails. Rejected, just said no, or most people didn't even reply back. But I can tell you, like, it's really important you understand your field. Example, talking about designer, but like about design here, and I can personally tell a story about each person on this speakers list. So I didn't randomly just invited them. So like you have to know who you're talking to, because when you invite someone, the person have to know or have to feel that you know them. Don't spam people. I can tell where Daniel is the first guy in the row. What his career is about. I can tell about Dean Broadley, the head of design from Vodacom. I can talk about Jane Vita. Basically, I can introduce all the speakers without reading anything. So if I could tell what is my secret sauce is I know what I'm talking about and I know what I'm doing. So this is the part of the part. And the second part is you have to have a very clear, how can I say the right word? A very clear argument, and you have to know what you want from them. Because like in one line, hey, I'm Gideon, this is a want from you and what they're gonna get in exchange. So basically, if I could simplify, I would say that is the secret sauce.
Thank you. That actually sounds great. I think that one of the values of our conference and our team is being transparent and candid. So that's what Gideon was also talking about, right? Being honest with people and being clear what you want. So So the next part of our conference, of course, was our sponsors and partners, because as I said, we were a team coming out of nowhere with ideas that never happened before. And we had no background and we didn't have established connections. So we had to start with everything from scratch. And I think the same value of being candid really also works with sponsors and partners. So when I was partially in charge of finding the sponsors and building the connections with partners. So originally, when I was thinking, Okay, how do we do it? I created like a super big map in Miro with different types of potential sponsors like software companies, startups, retail, online schools for design, design tools, and so on and so on. And then I was thinking, okay, what can we offer to each of these categories? So for retail, maybe we can tell them, okay, you're going to get some leads with us. For the software companies, you're going to get users, and so on and so forth. But then when we actually started talking to sponsors, I realized that what really matters for them is our mission. And that was extremely surprising and really enlightening for me, because that is not my first event, not my first time when I'm searching for sponsors. And usually the people and the companies in this corporate world are caring about the monetary or non-monetary benefit for them. And meeting people that are extremely interested in the mission of a tiny team that is, as I said, popping out of nowhere was extremely inspiring. And it's not just one type of sponsor, like only software companies believed in us. But as you can see, there is a product design agency like Argo Design. There are tools for designers and developers like Webflow and Framer. There's Shopify, which is not even connected with that. And as you see, we have many partners that also were inspired and believed in our mission and shared it. Do you guys have anything else to add about the sponsors or partners?
I think one really important part about finding sponsor and partners, but is probably something that most people won't tell you, is you have to have one person who believes you like unconditionally. And for us, that person was Mehera. Mehera is the head of creative of Ergo Design in New York. So I've pitched like about a conference. Like Mehera was the first person that I talked to about a conference in Milan, and she didn't only encourage me with words, she encouraged us like sponsoring like the conference also. So when you heard the first person like actually boosting your ego, like making you believe that you can, that can change everything. So that little secret that no one tells you. We do have those partners, but there is one partner that doesn't care much about your mission. He just believes in you. So I would suggest if any one of you want to start something, try to find that person that will support you and will give you like the boost that we always need. You can be confident most of the time, but you always need someone to push you.
That is great advice. Thank you, Gideon. Very inspiring. So let's move forward. And I think that Gideon, you shouldn't stop and you should continue, because I know that many of you are wondering what's going to happen after the conference. Because as I was teaching you to before, it's not just the conference, it's much more. And Gideon knows better than anyone since he started all of that. So please share with us your plans.
Okay, like before talking about like what's gonna happen next, I would like to like say thank you for the team. So one very important part like of building something this big is the people that you surround yourself. So like when I went to Integration 20, like in Milan to attend a conference, so I knew like I already had idea of like doing things on these dimensions, but I knew that like for me to be able to achieve what I wanted, I would have to be surrounded to people that will want to look at me like a crazy person. Trust me, if I'm from Mozambique in Africa, if I pitch to anyone like from my circle that I want to organize a 24 hours event with 50 speakers, people from all over the world, and I have zero budget, people will say that I'm insane, like literally, because that sounds like insane. What like insane people tell. But fortunately, I was lucky to meet like people that I kind of knew that they wouldn't see myself as insane, and those people are the one who are part of organization of this conference. So just to tell, it's like beside of idea, finding someone to encourage you, it's really, really important to find a team that supports you and understands you. So like, and also coordinate, like the way we work, we can't sometimes blank. You sometimes you don't know who's responsible for what, because everyone is responsible for everything, because all of us take this like very personal. We take like it's a mission like to help African designers. But as you may already saw, like Maria is from Russia, Prad is from India, and Camila is from Brazil. And being honest, 100%, this conference would be just a plan if it wasn't like from that, like for them. So yeah, that is having a really, really great team. It's really important. And also, besides of having a really great team, you have to find people that are better than you. This is really intimidating, because when you have an idea, you want to be the boss, right? But you have to find people that can do things that you can't. I don't have the level of energy that Pradi has. Pradi is insane. You haven't slept for like, no, don't know how many hours. This guy is like, okay, I'm not gonna talk about this, but Pradi is crazy. Maria, the way that she is very meticulous and organized. Camila, the way that she can express bold ideas. I can't do none of these things. So it's really important you surround yourself with this type of people also. So talking about the future, we do have a lot of plans, but we're gonna do this again, but not necessarily like this, because what I like we say we because I represent the team coming from emerging markets and coming from Africa. Like the world doesn't expect us to do big things. So like in every steps I do, or I make, or we're gonna start doing now, like together, we know that we have to work twice as much as everyone else, because people don't expect much coming from us. So what I can tell you that's gonna come from this conference is gonna be like from next year is gonna be something completely different. So imagine like a really cool conference, multiply that by 10. That's what I'm gonna be bringing next year.
And if
So
Gideon
I will
something,
be, I won't get to sleep for 1 more week then. So right now it's only been 2 days.
yeah,
And I'd like to point out, it's not that you get people that who don't see you're insane. I think we all believe you are insane, and that's why we got on board. We know how crazy this is.
no, I think it's even more than that. We know you are insane because we are insane also. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can relate a lot to the idea that you tell people around you your ideas and they look at you as if you're crazy. Um, I I get a lot of that here in Brazil as well. I feel like to make something this big and this bold, you have to be a little crazy, because you don't have that voice telling you that it's not possible. You're going to do that. How can you do that? And then that's why we did. We took it step by step, day by day. And yeah, it happened.
Yeah, we can't believe it ourselves, right? That it actually happened. In the meantime, let's check if we have questions left from our previous session.
I'd also like to add, as a team, like we had a no guilt culture, so there's no blame culture as well. So we always picked up after each other, and there was not any fight as such, saying like, no, you were supposed to do this, or this is on you, and we didn't get this done, so this is on you. So we found each other to be complementary in all our skills as well as our characteristics. So each one of us is a different kind of a person, and we deal with each other differently, but in the end we work together well, and we were able to work towards the final goal. Sometimes we screwed up, sometimes things went wrong, but we always made sure we had the goal in mind and not just blaming each other and saying like, no, you screwed up. So that's what I'm really grateful for, having this amazing team to work with.
Oh, I'm gonna cry now. Guys, do you think we should answer some questions that were left from the previous call, or do you want to? Okay, so I found them. I'm going to just voice them over, and then whoever wants to answer. How were you able to raise funds and attract sponsorship from companies such as Webflow, Shopify, Framer, etc.? I think I kind of answered that question more or less, that they really believed in our... Patty has an answer. Okay, go ahead.
So, yeah, to build off your answer, I think they really believed in our mission. But for Webflow, I would say anybody who knows me knows I'm fanatic about Figma and Webflow, and the Webflow part is just me putting the secret out to the world every day, telling how amazing Webflow is, how awesome Webflow is. And it just happened. They just came to us and said like, hey, we support you, we support your mission. And it's been amazing to work on Webflow, with Webflow. So that's the kind of people they are. So
yeah, in that case, we found each other, let's say, yeah. What does it take to organize a virtual conference of this magnitude? I can say that it takes a lot of sweat and tears and not sleepless nights. Yeah. What do you guys?
And planning. It definitely takes a lot of thinking and planning. I think that's most of our work was just, finding questions and figuring that out before we talk to anyone. So about the sponsors thing, when we approach a sponsor, we already know how this could benefit them. Everything we already thought it through before doing that, So I think that was really important.
And
okay.
if it's
Sorry. Before you go, Pradi, there is one person that was really important for this team that I forgot to mention, and his name is James Moses. He's from Nigeria. Also, I've never met James, and I found him on social media. Like, he seems to be very active. So like, you see, like when I don't want to use this quote. Okay, I'm not gonna use it because it's gonna be okay. So like, when someone is just cool like you, right? Like James is that type of guy. So yeah, James helped us a lot.
Thank you. Yeah. Patty, go ahead with the answer. Yeah.
So yeah, when it comes to actually organizing or planning this kind of a conference, I think it also goes back to the same point that I was making about having a complementary team. We saw each other in different skills, not just in terms of characteristics, but we saw things differently. So when Gideon told me that we are putting together 24-hour schedule, I saw it in a different way. I started planning it with 24 hours together. And then I started realizing then I don't know where to get the speakers if I'm just doing 24 hours. How would I put the speakers from different places? Then Gideon told me, no, let's split it up into 3 zones and then make that a 24 hours continuous thing. And that blew my mind. It makes sense the same way, but it's a completely different perspective to tackle the same problem. And we kept building on this back and forth multiple times. There are multiple times that my version of this blew Gideon's mind and how we put all of this together. So it's an iterative process that everybody sees a different perspective and we build on top of it.
It blew my mind because I didn't understand. To be honest, I haven't understand until now.
Well, it's good. You don't have to understand. No, we are done. Like we have done 24 hours, and that's the best part.
Yeah. So
okay, like answering about the conference. So people don't get the wrong idea about organizing this type of things. I'll tell you, 80% of our plan didn't work, like 80. So you have to be ready to deal with no's, with disillusions. Like a lot of people say no to you, and at least we are lucky that at least 20%, or at least actually it's less than 20% of the plan. But yeah, like good part of your plan won't work. People will reject you a lot, and it's gonna hurt. You might get depressed. So before you decide to start anything, make sure that you're ready for that.
Yeah, I would also say be ready for failures in general, in a good way, because I mean, failure is a learning, right? Because we failed so many times today, so many times, and like the beginning was disaster. We thought, oh my God, we're screwed. What do we do? So, but it's fine because we know what to do next time, and we see a lot of positive feedback. So it's a learning loop for all of us, for you, for us, maybe for our speakers. So yeah, and when you are ready for the failure, it means you also preparing the backup plans, right? So we were thinking, okay, if the speaker drops out, what do we do? We have some other activities prepared in that case because we know that it might happen. We are ready for it. And yeah, you name it, other situations like this. Okay, let's move forwards, not to make people starve and die here from aging. I don't know.
And I would like to say, like, there's so many new things that we all learned today while the conference was happening. It's incredible. Like, it's not that we were extremely prepared. It might have seemed that we're like pretty sure it's all smooth going, but the amount of things we did while this was happening to learn, insane. So,
And I saw that there is one of the attendees, Taurai. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it. His birthday today. So happy birthday!
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Okay, let's move to the next question. How many months/weeks did it take to plan this conference? I think that the first call we had was August, but we actually started in September, right? So September, October, November,
Yes, but like,
January, half a year.
okay, but that is mostly implementation. Actually, I was talking to my ex-boss days ago, and he asked me the same question. So there is a planning and there is implementation. Like for me to be able to get with a clear plan, a clear message on all this strategy that makes sense, because like to tell you the story about the conference, what we wanted to do here is a school, not a conference, right? So like the question that came to me, so I use Tim Ferriss a lot. I'm a big fan of Tim Ferriss. For those who don't know, Tim Ferriss is a really good podcast who interview like world-class performers. And Tim Ferriss usually says a quote that is a quote that says, "How will this look like if it was easy?" And I wanted to start a school, right? So I asked that myself, how will this look like if it was easy? Or like the answer was, I would just get money for someone else who won't ask me question about it, and I would just use for the school. So that's easy, right? So problem that comes now is how do you get money from people? And like was a long journey until I came out with the conference idea and put everything together. So I'm telling this because Maria might say like 4 months, 6 months, and you might feel the pressure of organizing this in such a short space of time. That is not the full story. It takes time. Like I think the biggest part of it is how do you organize the concept? Example, making the conference being about Africa, but not close the borders and making it international seems like an easy solution, but it's not. Takes a lot of thinking to come out with that idea. So just to tell you, just to encourage you guys, if you have an idea, don't rush to implement it. Like try to elaborate and try to put on this yourself on the chair of your stakeholder on basically yourself. Would you join your proposal if you were on the other side of the table? So things like that.
Wow, this is a very, very deep thought, like a very, very wise person here with us. I agree with that. Yeah, like with every word said. I mean, probably it took Gideon maybe, I don't know, a year, 2 years that he was having this idea in his head. And then we just jumped in the implementation phase, which, as I said, took around 6 months.
Okay, like I would like to add on this. I promise I won't take long, and I'm gonna talk for the last time. So Jeff Bezos have a biography. On the first pages, like it's everything everything. I forgot the title, but on the first pages of the book, he basically asks his biography. How would he avoid like I forgot this name. It's a fallacy. Something fallacy. I forgot the right name. But basically, it's the tendency of people to make like an event, trying to explain an event as they like a genius that they plan everything. Example, Amazon have these AWS services, which is responsible for most of the revenue from Amazon. But Jeff Bezos, like on the book, he says he never thought about doing that. So the guy who is the CEO of Amazon wanted to leave the company. And he said, what do you want to do? I want to build this thing. So take money from Amazon and build this. So like basically end up being a big part of Amazon business. So it's the same for the conference. I didn't have like a genius idea. I didn't think about everything about this conference. Most of the things I just came out like naturally. Like most of the things I didn't plan, to be honest. There is no this magic moment on that everything clicked. So don't beat yourself up also if you don't like if you don't have like those type of ideas, because sometimes are the circumstances that you are at that kind of mold you into something.
Yup. Do you think we should take like one last question and then wrap it up?
Yeah, people are getting tired.
Okay. What challenges did you face while reaching out to speakers, Gideon?
One thing that I use like myself is I usually don't take things personally. Was really hard for me to develop that skill. So what I'm trying to say is you're gonna get rejected a lot, and there is a multiple reasons that people might reject you. Maybe because I'm black, maybe because I'm from Africa, maybe because I'm poor, maybe because I have no experience organizing conference. There is a lot of reasons why people will say no. So guess what? I don't care. It's like if I mail you and you say no, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna try to the next. I will try to with a different person, and I'll keep going until I get a yes. So don't take no's as a personal attack. It's not about you. They have their own issues.
Great.
So yeah.
Maria, I feel like we can do a lightning, a lightning round. The questions that I'm seeing here, we can answer them very fast. So did you propose topic for speaker sessions, or the speakers had the liberty to speak on a subject they are most comfortable with? Yes, they chose their own topics. We didn't propose any topics for them. It was free. So they could do anything they felt like it.
Yeah.
Is this the first conference the teams organized together? Yes. Have the organizing team worked on similar projects before? No. We've said this a little earlier, but at least for me, I hadn't even met them before the conference. So yes. And there is one other. How do we keep this conversation going past this conference? So we have a Slack group. After the conference, we are going to send you an email with those informations, but we definitely expect this conversation to keep going and to make our Slack group a place that we can use to, keep talking about those things that interest us so much.
Yeah, great. Also, we'll try to figure out how we can save all those discussions that were happening during the conference in Hova. And yeah, we will keep you updated with the next steps. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Thank you for all volunteers that were helping us today. Thank you, everybody, for joining. And yeah, you're really great. We are happy. And we hope that you are happy too. Thank you. And bye, everybody.
Sorry. Wait, Maria.
Okay.
Before we go.
Yeah.
Probably I forgot about the volunteers because you were the one leading them. So people might not know, because when something works is because people are doing their job correctly, and the team of volunteers actually help us a lot.
Yes.
make this moderation process like go so easy. And I would like to say thank you for all of you. You were amazing. Thanks for dedicating your time to this conference.
Thank you so much. Yes, you're a great part of our team. Thank you. And bye, everybody.
Thank you, all of you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. See you next year.
Bye.
And we are done with the world-class designer conference.
Yay.
See you next year.